And we do have quorum, so whenever you want to get started, I'll go ahead and share my screen.
Okay. I'll wait till the 2 o'clock mark hits, which just happened as I said that on my computer, so that works for me. Welcome everyone to the June 24th meeting of the Northern Middlesex Metropolitan Planning Organization. Kelly, please call the roll.
Right, we have Derek Schuster.
Derek Schuster, representing MassDOT Interim Secretary and CEO Phil Eng here.
All right, Brian Fallon.
Brian Fallon representing Jonathan Gulliver, Highway Administrator.
Great, Pat Wojcik here. Stephen Themelis.
Here, representing NMMPO.
All right, Belinda Duran. It's not here. Karen Pulio. Oh,
Here.
and Belinda just joined us. We'll give her a second. Tom Bowman. That's not here. And Belinda, I saw you join. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. I am heading over to the meeting. I'm just late running from another meeting.
No problem. Just marking you
Okay.
down as present. So thank you.
Okay, yes, thank you.
Great. And we have a quorum.
Excellent, thank you. I am just looking for. Oh, there we go. Next item on the agenda is open forum. At this time, there's tip amendment number 5, which has been out for public comment, and we can allow for public comment to that or open comment for anything else on today's agenda. Do we have any members from the public wishing to make comment on either tip amendment number 5 or any of the items on today's agenda? If so, please use the raise hand feature on Zoom. Not seeing any raised hands. Is there anyone in the conference room with you, Kelly?
Yes. Well, Pat, and then.
Well, I see that. Yeah, no, I meant from the public.
Nobody with a raised hand here, unless Pat, you have something to say. All right.
All right. Well, with that, I think we can close the open forum. If during today's meeting anyone from the public does wish to make comment, just use the raise hand feature, and please wait to be called on by the chair. Next item on today's agenda is approval of the meeting minutes from the April 22nd MPO meeting?
May 27.
Yeah, I was gonna say looks like the attachment.
It's a bad screen grab. Sorry.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, the May
The one that's
27th.
posted is correct. Yes.
Yep, the meeting minutes from May were posted in advance of today's meeting. Could I please have a motion and second to approve the meeting minutes from May?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's been made and seconded. Are there any revisions, changes, questions on the minutes? Seeing and hearing none, Kelly, please call the roll.
Derek Schuster.
Yes.
Brian Fallon.
Yes.
Pat Wojcik.
Yes.
Stephen Themelis.
Yes.
Belinda Duran.
Yes.
Karen Pulio.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
All right. Next item is an action item for the Northern Middlesex, Greater Lowell Bicycle and Pedestrian Plan. This was released for public comment at the April 22nd meeting, and we agreed to wait another month so comments and changes could be accommodated for the plan. Who's providing an update on this item?
I'll provide an update, and Emmanuel and John can jump in as necessary. So, great. Thank you. So on the April 22 meeting, you voted to release the bike ped plan for public comment. We did receive a number of comments, both from NPO board members and the public. And I just wanted to provide kind of an overall, like a high level view of the themes that we heard from the community and any related adjustments that we made to the plan since then. So the plan is now posted with the meeting materials. It was posted yesterday, the final draft of the plan. But just gonna walk through some of these. So we had a couple of minor details and corrections, just general scrivener's errors, or, calling a road the wrong name and correcting maybe the length of bicycle facility miles in the region, and minor updates to those numbers, but nothing really substantive. I want to share the rest of these with some visuals, and then just with the last, just noted that we we really strengthened in our policy recommendations, we really strengthened our reference to other advocacy groups in the region and partnership, particularly with FORT, which is the Friends of Regional Topaz. I always forget the full acronym, and other like sorry.
NCC also.
Yes, exactly. The Middlesex Canal Commission and the like Friends of various
There's another trend.
Bruce Freeman Rail Trail, other rail trails. So we did want to clarify just around, there were some questions around what did we mean with regard to envisioned facilities versus planned facilities. And so we've clarified that both through maps. So one of the maps that you'll see included in the plan really specifies the difference between these links in the network, which actually all of those have specific numbers and they're in red on this map, versus our envisioned facilities, which are in a magenta color here. And emphasizing that we developed the plan, this network on top of the proposed shared use paths that are included in the Massachusetts Priority Trails Network. And, you know, in conversing with Pete Sutton, really tried to understand what it meant on the Massachusetts Trails Network to have an envisioned facility. A number of the proposed facilities that are in this Priority Trails Network are earlier in the project development life cycle, and they haven't been fully explored for feasibility of these are really like off-street facilities or what would be trails, a lot of which are on privately owned land. And so where there isn't a secured right of way, we didn't feel comfortable putting these plans in our proposed network, just drawing a line over somebody else's property and saying this is part of our vision. But we did want to indicate support for these advocacy groups that are really pushing forward on these plans. And so we in the plan document, we actually elaborate a lot more on what it means for a facility to be envisioned. And then clarify that, you know, these envisioned paths, we support these paths and we will continue to collaborate with any groups that are advocating for these paths because they do connect to the network. As you can see here, they really build out the potential for the future network. But they do require more planning and investigation. And so we have a policy recommendation that says that planning and exploration of these paths should continue and will serve to fill important regional walking and biking connections. And so we'll continue to monitor those. We'll support any groups that need our support or as our time is available in implementing these plans and taking the next steps on them. But I just wanted to clarify what the difference is there. We also worked with Tool. Sorry. And this is a little bit more. If you go to, I think later on in the document on one of the later pages, we really elaborate what those specific envision paths are and what they include, and the groups that we would be working with to help support those plans. Because we did want to make sure that these specific links remain and are supported in the plan, and also to do what we can to help support their eligibility for future grants. We provided a couple of minor map updates. I think one thing to note is as soon as you print a map, as soon as you publish a map, it's almost immediately out of date. So it's almost impossible for us to stay up to date with, you know, new sidewalks or new bike lanes in the region. We did add anywhere you like some like additional, you know, blue lines here to indicate where there was an existing bike lane. And so we were able to make some of those updates. But I think one thing that we just want to remind the board is that, you know, we will be going back into this document periodically. Emmanuel's been working on a story map, which is like a companion web-based version of this plan, which will be much easier for us to keep updated. And that will be how we kind of track and monitor the progress of implementation of this plan. Yeah. But in general, you know, we'll do our best to keep it up to date. Yeah. But this is really kind of a point in time. So some things may not be fully accurate, and as we understand updates, we'll be making those. We did receive comments from a number of Billerica community members wanting to see a little bit more kind of cross connections or connections between these key nodes, and so those were added to the network. You'll see those reflected in our story map when that's published. Finally, we received comments regarding integrating the Massachusetts Special Commission on Micromobility report. So that has its own policy recommendation. And then later in the plan, has a number of kind of sub recommendations around supporting and implementing that. So I appreciate MassDOT's comments on incorporating that into this project. So as I mentioned, this plan, we are committed to maintaining it, reviewing it regularly. Anytime we do see an update to the sidewalk network, the pedestrian network, the bicycling network, we're going to try to keep that updated on our story map version of the site. We will be finalizing that story map version following the endorsement of this plan. We didn't want to put a lot of time into finalizing something until it was fully approved by the board, but it's pretty close to being ready to go. And we also are ready to begin on implementation immediately. So our next steps, and we have this programmed in the 2027 UPWP, but we also have time available to get started now on doing a bike rack study to understand where we have bicycle facilities across the region, and collecting data from our communities on where they would like to see future bike racks, because that's part of our micromobility tip funding program for next year. So we can start to plan ahead for where those bike racks could go. We also are going to be doing a crosswalk study to really understand where do we have crosswalks in the region, where are those crosswalks, maybe where do they have safety concerns, and where we want to improve those. Those are some key recommendations in the plan. I'm happy to answer any other questions regarding changes that were made. Overall, our request to the board is your vote to endorse the Greater Lowell Bicycle and Pedestrian Plan. But I will hand it over to Derek if we have any questions.
Thank you, Kelly. And thanks for the comprehensive look into the plan. Are there any questions from the board or others about the bicycle and pedestrian plan as presented?
I have one for Kelly. It's a little far-fetched, Kelly, but are there any such things as bike charging stations along these routes?
Bike charging stations.
Yeah.
I am not aware of anything like that. And Derek, have you seen those in the Boston region or anything?
I've seen bike charging stations as part of garage parking for bikes at some larger new developments, especially in communities that have TDM ordinances or travel demand management practices implemented. But I don't believe that's something explicitly baked into the design for trail projects in other parts of the Commonwealth.
Think something like that may be in line for the future.
Maybe. I mean, that's the fun part of project design and development. There's a process for designing those projects. So if there's a need for that, as there's projects developed in accordance with this plan, provide that input or feedback where you think they'd be appropriate. I think it raises some questions about who pays the electric bill, or if they're like solar powered and you want to do like solar powered stations along. I've also seen in train stations and airports around the world, they have like those stationary places you could charge a phone by biking in place. Mm-hmm. So maybe you hop off one bike or scooter and sit on a stationary bike and charge it. So you could totally have fun with that, but it's a little in the weeds for this plan, I would think.
I do know, like, as far as bike share is concerned, we do support in this plan from a policy perspective, we support the implementation of a wider bike share network. And often when you look at bike share networks, those do have an e-bike component to them. So those aren't generally available charging stations. They're available only to bikes that are part of that program. But that would be also an eligible expense of our TIP micromobility fund, would be helping communities implement the development or expansion of a bike share program, whether that includes e-bikes or not.
Sort of like a bike resting stop area, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I do know an emerging concern with micromobility devices that are electrified and have batteries to charge is that there have been fires, battery fires that have been sparked when they're charging in some places. So that's a liability concern that maybe we haven't cracked the code on yet, or why we're not including them. So I think there's still some research that has to happen on what a best practice is for including that. But I'm happy to forward that consideration to our bike planning and statewide bike and pedestrian plan program managers, to see if that can be considered for some of the projects like Yankee Doodle, for example, in your region.
Especially on those long runs. Yeah, thank you.
Certainly. Are there any other questions about the bicycle and pedestrian plan? All right, then could we please get a motion to endorse the Greater Lowell Bicycle and Pedestrian Plan?
Motion to endorse.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's been made and seconded. Kelly, please call the roll.
All right, Derek Schuster,
Yes, and this
Brian
is a
Fallon.
wonderful day for
Oh.
you guys. I just wanted to add
Yeah.
that
Thank
editorial.
you. Yes, it's been almost a year and a half of effort. So yeah, I'm really excited. Thank you. Brian Fallon,
Yes.
Pat Wojcik,
Yes.
Stephen Themelis,
Yes.
Belinda Duran,
Yes.
Karen Pulio.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. I also just really want to give hearty thanks. I don't see any of them here today, but to our advisory committee members and to our additional staff. We had a lot of volunteer support in outreach and engagement on this plan, and we couldn't have done it without the advisory committee. We have broad representation from the region and really active vocal participants in the development of this plan. So
Can I add?
thank you for your vote of support.
And that I was a yes as well.
Oh, hi, Bob.
Hey, Bob.
Hello.
All right. Next item on the agenda is on the 26 to 30 tip, amendment number 5. Is this Kelly?
Yes, so we released, the NMPO voted to release Amendment 5 for public comment at our last meeting. Apologies, there was an error in the project ID number and that has since been fixed. So it is 614242, which is improvements at crosswalks near bus stops across District 4, MassDOT Highway District 4, and we would have one stop in the region in Billerica that would be impacted by this. We did not receive any comments on it. We also, we're open for comments at the beginning of this meeting. We had a public meeting on June 3. It didn't receive any comments. So at this point, we're asking the board to endorse tip amendment 5.
All right. Are there any questions from the board at this time? Seeing and hearing none, could we have a vote to endorse tip amendment number 5?
So moved.
Thank you, Pat.
Second.
Thank you, Karen. Kelly, please call the roll.
Derek Schuster,
Yes.
Brian Fallon,
Yes.
Pat Wojcik.
Yes.
Stephen Themelis,
Yes.
Belinda Duran,
Yes.
Karen Pulio,
Yes.
Bob Rafferty.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, did we have a tip item for LRTA or is that my imagination?
Yeah,
Yes,
that's just
here
what
it is.
the tip. It looks exactly the same as the last slide. So.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. And I know Allie and Justin are here too, so please feel free to jump in. This is an adjustment, which unless the board feels that this should go out for public comment, you could vote to endorse it today. It doesn't require a public comment period. Basically, this would enable the LRTA to program RTA cap fund, state funds to purchase a council on aging van for the town of Wilmington. So the town of Wilmington joined the LRTA service area earlier this year. They had applied for a community connections grant, but did not receive it to purchase this van. The current van in Wilmington is 9 years old and is in need of replacement. So the funds, the $135,000 and change, would go to fund the purchase of a new van for the town of Wilmington, and the LRTA can do this immediately. They have the funds available; they can commit them right away. So, with that, we're I know if I miss anything, Justin or Allie, please pop in. But we're also seeking an endorsement by the board today.
I
Thank
have
you, Kelly.
a question.
Go ahead.
So I just want to understand how the Council on Aging, how they generally, in any municipality, interact with the regional transit authorities. Because I'm assuming it's the Council on Aging that will be staffing the bus. And is that typically how I'm just curious how it connects, through LRTA as opposed to through Council on Aging stuff.
Yes, so the LRTA through the community transit grant program. That's typically our funding source. We apply on behalf of the councils on aging because the state covers the match for us. If the councils apply on their own, then the town is responsible for the 20% match. So it helps the municipalities out to go through us, and then we provide the oversight for the state. The Council on Aging drivers go into our drug and alcohol testing pool and all of that. In this case, we applied and didn't receive the van, and then there was some extra RTA cap available at the end of the year. That's, the use it or lose it type of money. So, and we had a van through Bluebird that was in stock and could be delivered by June 30th. So we worked with MassDOT Rail and Transit to reallocate the funds. And so that's what this adjustment is all about. But again, there's no federal piece. So that's why it's just the adjustment.
Yeah, I'd even go so far as to say, because there's no federal piece, this could technically even be handled as an administrative modification. But having a board endorsement, adds further bases covered and whatnot, and the public input opportunity here if anyone had any concerns about this activity. I just wanted to note I shared in the chat an attachment from NMCOG's website for the Coordinated Public Transit Human Services Plan. So that plan spells out investments like this that could be paid for with funding from the FTA Section 5310 program, aka Massachusetts' Community Transit Grant Program. And Massachusetts also supplements that considerably now with state funding from Fair Share and other sources as well.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions about tip adjustment number 3?
But Kelly, if you could share that link.
Yeah, I'll send that right now.
All right, could we please have a motion and second to endorse tip adjustment number 3?
Motion to support tip adjustment 3.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Karen and Stephen. Kelly, please call the roll.
Derek Schuster,
Yes.
Brian Fallon,
Yes.
Pat Wojcik,
Yes.
Stephen Themelis,
Yes.
Belinda Duran,
Yes.
Karen Pulio,
Yes.
Bob Rafferty.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
All right. Next item is an action item on the federal fiscal year 2027 Unified Planning Work Program.
All right. So at the meeting last month, along with other things, you released the 2027 UPWP for public comment. And we had a public hearing on June 3. We had open public comment period from right after the meeting to June 18, yes. And we did not receive any comments on the plan. I also invited comments from staff, and we overall didn't have any substantive changes to the overall funding or the task allocation. And so this remains just as you saw it last month. So we'd be funding our major task areas, maintaining the 3C process, communications, engagement, et cetera, along with the direct costs that we had proposed as part of our original plan. So none of these things actually changed. We did not receive comment from, as I mentioned, we didn't receive comment from anyone in the public. We received very minor comments from MassDOT, but no other comments from FHWA or FTA. And then we also, the only other changes that you would see in this final document were some minor scrivener errors. So we had some issues with, referring to fiscal year 26 versus 27. So those were all corrected. Happy to answer any questions about the work program or work that we're proposing to begin on October 1, but otherwise we're requesting a vote of endorsement by the MPO.
Thank you, Kelly. Are there any questions for Kelly or staff on the 27 Unified Planning Work Program as presented? I just wanted to offer commendation. There's a budget table that you guys feature in your UPWP that we've actually shared with other regions. Just the format of it's great. Might be a legacy item from Justin Howard's days. Very comprehensive. But obviously it's been added to as different funding sources have become available over the years. So it's very well presented.
Thank you.
Could we please have a motion and second to endorse the Unified Planning Work Program?
Motion to
Motion
endorse
to-
the Unified Planning Work Program.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's been made and seconded. Kelly, please call the roll.
All right, Derek Schuster,
Yes.
Brian Fallon,
Yes.
Pat Wojcik,
Yes.
Stephen Themelis,
Yes.
Belinda Duran,
Yes.
Karen Pulio,
Yes.
Bob Rafferty.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Congratulations, you have salaries for through 27. And marching
Somebody
orders on the
has to
work
have
team.
that. Well, we gotta get the compact signed, but we're
Yeah,
close.
we
One
do.
step
but-
closer.
you know what the work is at least. That's good.
Yeah,
All right.
exactly. You know what we're doing.
Yep. All right. Next item is Vision Zero Toolkit. Who's presenting on this? Emmanuel?
This is Amanda.
Okay.
Hey, thank you. Today I will present the Greater Lower Vision Zero Toolkit. And first I will give a background about the Greater Lower Vision Zero plan. Looking back from 2009 to 2021, the Greater Lower region had 384 crashes, including 6 fatalities and serious injuries, and it was in the top 200 locations from Masdar. So in response to that, NMCAC developed the Greater Lower Vision Zero plan, and it was funded through SS4A from 2022. And the plan was prepared by WSP and endorsed by the MPO on July 24, 2024. And overall, it commits the region to traffic deaths and serious injuries. Building on this, NMCAC created a regional safety toolkit to give municipalities practical tools, policies, and training resources for implementing Vision Zero. So to show the stats from the last 10 years and to see who's most affected by fatal and serious injury crashes in our region, we can see that motor vehicle occupants, there is a total of 951 fatal and serious injury crashes. Motorcyclists are number 2 in that regard, and there is a total of 176 total fatal and serious injuries. Pedestrian has also a fair share, around 127 total fatal and serious injuries. And bicyclists also have a share on that one, and around 40 total fatal and serious injuries. This is looking at the data from 2016 to 2025. And the toolkit is developed based on this data-driven method in which to give toolkits and strategies to improve safety for motor vehicle occupants, pedestrians, motorcyclists, and bicyclists. So to go back and to ask why Vision Zero and why the safe system approach, as you can see on the photo from the left, you can see that the road transport system has risk inherently embedded into the system, and it gives or it puts unrealistic expectations on humans to be perfect. As you can see, if the driver on the red car, if it makes a mistake, then usually it leads to fatal and serious injury crashes. The central idea behind the safe system approaches is that people make mistake, but those mistakes shouldn't be fatal or serious injury. They could pay for their insurance premium. They could get their license be suspended, but it's not acceptable that it leads to fatal and serious injury crashes. And this is a central idea behind the safe system approach. Instead of always expecting perfect behavior from every road user, the system should be designed to reduce the likelihood of severe outcomes when mistakes happen. One good example is the balcony safety example. As you can see, if you go to buy a house and you see a balcony without guardrails and only has a stop sign, I don't think anybody can buy this house. So as you can see, for balcony safety, designers put guardrails because they acknowledge human makes mistakes, and those they may trip, they may fall. So these mistakes shouldn't lead to fatal and serious injury crashes. So this image also shows that all the responsibility historically was on the road user to protect himself. And you can see that if a mistake happens, it usually leads to fatal and serious injury crashes. And the core idea behind Vision Zero is that safety is shared between system designers and roadway users. System designers are responsible for the design of the road transportation system, and thereby they are responsible for the level of safety within the transportation system. And road users are responsible for following the rules set by the system designers. If the user fails to comply with these rules, system designers are required to take necessary further steps to counteract people being killed or injured. The idea behind the Vision Zero is that Vision Zero is an ethical expression of ethical imperative that it can never be acceptable that people are killed or seriously injured when moving within the road transportation system. So it is based on a simple argument that it is never acceptable that people are killed or seriously injured when moving through the road transportation system. So most of you may know this safe system approach has 5 components, and the safe system has 6 principles. The 5 components include safe road users, safe vehicles, safe speeds, safe roads, and most importantly, post-crash care. And recently, other duties in the US also include safer land use component into the safe system approach, because land use is also important to reduce the exposure of crashes. And the 6th principle of the safe system approach includes human make errors, humans are vulnerable to injury, responsibility is shared, no days or serious injury is acceptable, and safety is or should be proactive but not reactive, and redundancy is crucial. So one of the most significant aspects of the safe system approach is managing kinetic energy. Kinetic energy is the product of mass and velocity. So kinetic energy is velocity squared. So even a slight increase in the speed, such as 4 miles per hour or 5 miles per hour, has a multiplicative effect on kinetic energy, because kinetic energy is velocity squared. And a good example is to see the graphic on the right. Most people have fear of height, so they could see this image and they could understand the impact of speed and kinetic energy on the human body. So the big question is, how can we manage the risk of kinetic energy in a safe system approach, and how can we apply this concept into our everyday work? And this is the reasoning behind developing the toolkit. And the toolkit is developed using these 3 concepts: reducing exposure, likelihood, and severity of crashes, and also increasing attentiveness and awareness through education and enforcement efforts. So when we mean reducing exposure, that is through supporting land use that supports multimodal connectivity, improving bike and ped connection, improving our transit network, and also help access to transit, improving access to transit and nearby destinations, improving site layout and internal circulation, and using transit demand management or TDM strategies, including modal shift and trip reduction. This helps with reducing exposure to crashes, and the toolkit has several strategies and best practices and planning tools that our municipalities can use to help them plan for reducing exposure to crashes. The other key component is reducing the likelihood of crashes through access management, including driveways, medians, and spacing, intersection design, including adding a dedicated turn lanes, signal phasing, improving the geometry of roadways. Bike and ped crossing and signalization is also crucial. So overall, separating users in time and space, including dedicated bike lanes and signals, will help reduce the likelihood of crashes. And severity, reducing severity is highly related to speed management. And when we in speed management, including context-sensitive speed management strategies, implementing traffic calming, self-enforcing street separation between modes, including buffers and introducing protected facilities, reducing conflict angles and crossing distances, because we have several angle crashes and almost 47% of our crashes in our region are angle crashes. So reducing conflict is hugely crucial, and also complementing these strategies and these concepts with increasing attentiveness and awareness through education and enforcement is the base of behind developing the toolkit. So the Greater Law Regional Safety Toolkit build on this principle of Vision Zero and the safety system approach to provide municipalities with actionable and locally relevant safety resources. It can help planners and engineers on day-to-day transportation planning. It can assist with local policy development and give examples from other regions who are successfully reduce fatal and serious injury crashes. Also help with project design and countermeasure selection. It also has several resources for public communication and outreach, and also most importantly, improving post-crash care and emergency medical services. And not only for our municipal planners and engineers, but also it can help for our advisory committees, community advocates, and regional partners seeking to collaborate on coordinated safety initiative across our jurisdictions. And looking at what is included in the toolkit have 7 sections. First one is purpose and background, defines what Vision Zero is, what the safety system approach is, the goal of limiting traffic deaths and serious injuries. Section 2 talk about data collection and benchmarking and gives guidance for collecting, analyzing, and visualizing crash data. Section 3 is about one of the most crucial component of this toolkit. Talks about model Vision Zero policies from other regions, Vision Zero resolution, planning strategies to advance Vision Zero that municipal planners and engineers can use. Section 4 is dedicated for design strategies. So there is a decision matrix included in the toolkit and several countermeasures together with their cost, their considerations to add, best practices and several resources. And section 5 is communication and outreach. It has guidance on safety messaging, responsible crash reporting, public engagement, and evidence-based campaigns. So this communication outreach section can also be used by journalists who are responsible for crash reporting. Section 6 talks about strategies to improve emergency responses, trauma care, crash reporting, and follow-up. And section 7 has resources from national, state and regional, and international resources that our municipalities can use. Regarding next steps and toolkit release dates, Kelly will give an update.
Yeah, so we have the first 3 sections ready to publish, so we'll be sending out links to those as part of our follow-up to this message, and then completing the rest of the document by the end of this week. So, and then we have a plan because June is National Safety Month, but we're going to keep it going into July to just help promote the toolkit among planners and engineers across the region, and some of our local bike and pedestrian committees, our emergency response providers. So each individual section that's in here on what the toolkit includes, each of those individual sections will have, targeted communication strategy to get these out to specific audiences, because each one kind of corresponds with a different audience. So I wanted to have Emmanuel provide an overview of what the toolkit is today, because he's been working on it for a really long time, and we're so close to the end. So I just wanted to give you a heads up as to what's going to be coming into your email boxes in the next couple of days. And then what we'll be communicating about over social media. So thank you.
Thank you, Emmanuel and Kelly. I actually have a question about item 5, what the toolkit includes. I think that media, there tends to be a gap in how media reports crashes, as you know, and what latest best practices are. Have you cracked the code on how to change that, or do you have an
Yes.
example of like what media training looks like with regards to that?
Yes, we did a research and we have scientific based research on crash reporting. And we also found a tool and that we included in the toolkit that if you give them like any news article and it will tell you what the problem is regarding crash data reporting. So journalists, for example, can use that tool to paraphrase and use safe system and Vision Zero language before sharing any news articles.
Is that for print media only, or are there tools also for like radio or TV or podcasts?
Yes, yes, there are also tools. And the way we
Okay.
talk about road safety, not saying accident, using the word crash. And when
Yep.
we to also help with blame shifting also because most of the time it's always the blame is always on the vulnerable roadway user. So
Like the pedestrian darted into the street or
Yeah.
something, and
Yeah.
it's kind of eliminating
Yeah.
that sort of language from reporting.
so it has
Okay.
several resources from peer-reviewed research, so that can help also.
Great. No, it's refreshing to hear. It just kind of makes my skin crawl when I watch the news every evening, and
Yeah.
there's always one reporter that makes an offense or whatever with best practice reporting. All right. Any questions from the board for Emmanuel or staff? Karen, are you holding? Go ahead, Karen.
Yeah, sorry, I held my real hand, not my virtual hand. Just a quick question on what are the intersections, or if there are any intersections, between the bike and pedestrian plan that we saw earlier and the Greater Lowell Vision Zero plan? I just feel like there's probably a lot of intersections. Are they referenced at all? And and if they are, I probably missed it, but.
Yeah, so in the bike and ped plan, the bike and ped plan really stems from our Vision Zero plan. So safety was at the core of our guiding principles for that plan. And one of the recommendations of that plan is to have an ongoing advisory committee that really incorporates approaches for vulnerable roadway users and as well as implementation of our Vision Zero plan. So it's like a group that would maybe serve as an advisory group to the NPO to say like, all right, here's how we're implementing both the Vision Zero plan and the bike and pedestrian plan. And I think the toolkit as well has, because Vision Zero is just as much about pedestrians and cyclists and users of transit as it is about people who are operating single occupancy vehicles. So there's a lot of overlap and intersectionality between the two. But I did just want to point out that the bike ped plan does have a number of key points where it does refer back to Vision Zero. And on top of it, we did use the high injury network, the high risk network, and the priority network to inform where we wanted to see priority changes for pedestrians and cyclists across the region.
And
Thanks
in order
very
to
much
add-
for that. I appreciate that clarification and verbalization of that, Kelly. Appreciate that.
Yeah. In order to add, we also applied the safe system approach to the bike ped plan. And if you see the networks we recommend, most of them are separated bike lanes and separated shared use passes. To also recommend separating users in time and space concept of the safe system approach. So protecting vulnerable roadway user safety and Vision Zero are together.
Yeah.
All right. Are there any other questions for Emmanuel?
I just have one, Derek.
Mhm.
On that Vision Zero, is any of that information being translated for like driver education, continuing driver education for the public for road safety? In terms of updating the public what's been going on and help them become more aware of the circumstances around them?
Yes, this question was asked also during the public meeting during the Master's Strategic Highway Safety Plan.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yes, so one of the question was there should be continuing education and due to the multimodal improvement is going on, the roadways are changing and most people take their driving license test several years ago. So
It's
So-
generous. Yeah.
So I did study it in Europe, and I know that in order to get a driving license, so some of the countries they asked about Vision Zero safe system approach. So they did updated it using the latest safe system approach strategy. So that would be for the state.
Yeah, and I know both the state and some of our regions, I think Merrimack Valley is working right now on a campaign on a couple of different Vision Zero related campaigns for driver education. So I think and I know in section 3 of the toolkit, some of the planning and policy strategies are regarding education. So there are basically recommendations or like almost like a kit that our communities could take and say, all right, here's a specific population that we want to educate about road safety or Vision Zero or something. So, and here's how you would go about doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously being ethical imperative, that's where you would want to spend some of your efforts, right? The education, especially the young drivers coming into the future, in terms of road safety and being aware of what's their surroundings. I think it's very important. That's where you start.
That's correct.
Old timers like us, forget it.
If there's no other question, if there's no, sorry, any other questions, Stephen?
No, that's it. Thank you, Derek.
All right. If there's no other questions for Emmanuel, let's keep the agenda rolling. Thanks for that update, and we look forward to the toolkit materials that you share out. The next item on today's agenda is NIMCOG staff updates, I believe.
Great. So I think a couple of times a year, we like to give you an update on the projects that we're working on that are part of the UPWP. So we have just some very brief updates on 4 projects. And then also just to give you a heads up, I think as part of the meeting materials for this meeting, I provided links to NIMCOG's testimony on the Ride Safe Act. So I was able to testify a couple of weeks ago at the hearing for the Ride Safe Act, and then Jennifer Raitt, our executive director, submitted a letter to testimony, basically in support of the Ride Safe Act, which is a key implementation of a number of the recommendations of the Micromobility Commission. And just so if anybody has questions about that later, we're happy to respond to that. But we felt like we definitely wanted to voice our support for the Ride Safe Act and implementation of it, even though according to some of the scooter drivers at the hearing, it wasn't adequate. It didn't adequately address some of their concerns, but we did feel like, one of the things we hear here in a lot of our public meetings is concern about, particularly around high speeds of e-bikes and some of these new micromobility devices. And the Ride Safe Act would definitely address a number of those concerns. Separately, we're working on 4 different projects as part of our current UPWP, and some of these will span into the next one. Emmanuel right now is working on a Woburn Street corridor study. So this is primarily based in Lowell, but the southern edge of the study area goes down into a tiny corner of Tewksbury and then into Billerica. But it's really focused at these 2 ramps here that go off of 495. There recently was, a couple of years ago, a new Home Depot distribution facility was put in down here. And there's been a number of complaints about increase in truck traffic. And so one of the things the city asked us to do was to do a warrant analysis to understand whether a new signal might be warranted at these ramp locations. We expanded the scope of this study, which was posted with the materials for this meeting, to incorporate additional safety and multimodal improvements along the roadway. So right now, Emmanuel's been working on this, really looking at traffic volumes, crash rates and types, looking at the density of crashes at these 2 intersections. And really, because of the new distribution facility, looking specifically at truck volumes and truck movements, we have our traffic counting consultant out taking turning movement counts. I think it's this week.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so, and one thing that Emmanuel already knows is that a signal is warranted. So we've met the criteria for a signal under our warrant analysis.
Warrant 7.
Warrant 7, thank you. And we'll be looking at kind of doing a light level analysis of what kind of intersection control might be suitable for this area. And then, like I said, making additional recommendations for safety improvements and potential changes to the right of way based on these, based on this data. And then with John?
Yeah, so lots going on in Dunstable right now. As you can see on the map, there's obviously recently been Route 113 redesign work completed on the eastern portion, seen in the map in blue. And that's currently being coupled with, in that yellow-orange portion, the ongoing Route 113 redesign, which we kicked off recently, and we are, I believe the consultant is planning to go in the field.
They were
already out in the field, yes. They're in the field doing preliminary field work, just getting site analysis done, so that's moving. There's also the town center community path, which is represented by several of those red lines. That has also been going well. We have a meeting with the butters coming up, so that'll be exciting to see what their feedback is like. And even more recently, we got Main Street sidewalks planned to be added through, what was the funding source for that again?
MassDOT Complete Streets.
Yes, MassDOT Complete Streets. So yeah, that recently came through, so that's very exciting and will definitely help with the community path, because one of the biggest challenges is connecting the library to the town center due to several factors, one of which being the fact that it's running through pretty steep and rugged terrain compared to the rest of the areas. So the Main Street sidewalk might actually serve as a good solution to at least provide an ADA compliant way of connecting those two areas. And then in addition to all this, the Woodward's Mill Pond Dam is also being repaired, and that is a whole project in and of itself that, while we don't really have much oversight on, I don't think, we're definitely going to have to stay in close communication with that and make sure, especially with the Route 113 redesign, that everything is so up to where people need it to be.
Yeah. So essentially we're supporting that. We supported the town in selecting consultants for some of these sub projects, and then we're continuing to work with ongoing community engagement and then implementing a visioning process that was completed earlier this year. So just trying to keep this all under one umbrella project to keep it simple in the mind of the public, but organized internally. Anything else on this?
No.
Yeah. Blake is out sick today, but one thing, we just had a kickoff meeting last week with the LRTA to talk about a bus stop, developing bus stop design guidelines. And so these are examples from a project that Nelson Nygaard completed, but it's probably similar to the kind of work that we'll be doing. Basically using our bus stop inventory and the updated bus stop inventory to identify different typologies of transit stops and recommended treatments for those stops. So basically what kind of amenities as stops are updated, or as, the LRTA is doing a service analysis right now to look at any potential reroutes of their bus lines. And so if new bus stops were created, what are the recommended amenities kind of based on ridership, or whether there's a transfer stop or nearby amenities? What kind of bus stop amenities should be at these various bus stops? This isn't just guidelines for the LRTA, but actually will be developed working with and doing a lot of outreach to the communities as well, because the LRTA isn't necessarily responsible for building sidewalks or maintaining the landscaping around them or maintaining a bus shelter. So we want to do this collaboratively, both with the LRTA, their planning and operations team, but also with our communities, because these kind of improvements could potentially be funded through our micro mobility grant TIP funding as well. So trying to basically set forth what are our recommended standard for bus stops before we start funding any kind of improvements so that we can ensure some kind of consistency across the region.
I like how you have palm trees.
Yeah, that's why I want to make sure this is clear. This is not for us. I was just in Florida, but I didn't bring it back with me. So, and then finally back to John.
Yeah, so another project we've got on the horizon that we've recently kicked off, but is definitely still going to be more of a 2026 into 2027 ordeal is the congestion management plan. And this hasn't been done in a while for the region, so we're really hoping to get sort of a post-COVID look at the region into the future and particularly get several checkboxes checked, including bottleneck analysis and identifying where congestion in the region is really bad and where we can improve it from anything from infrastructure updates to entire multimodal transportation network analyses. So this is really a good opportunity to not only just get a baseline analysis of the challenges in the region or the benefit or the successes in the region, but also a good way to really create a set of strategies for the region looking forward to say not only how are we creating traffic locally, but how are we improving traffic for commuters traveling through the region so residents of the communities aren't as negatively impacted by, let's say, like higher collision rates due to just higher traffic volumes and whatnot. And I think this is also a really unique opportunity to explore multimodal transportation as opposed to just looking at bottleneck analyses and fixing road geometries, because that's helpful, but it also only addresses so much of the issue, because a lot of the issues are just arising from increased ridership on roads that weren't designed to handle such volumes of ridership. So it's also an effort of managing strategies to get people off the road in a means that's actually convenient and isn't just forcing people off to double their commute times, because that's unreasonable.
Yeah.
So very excited to do this.
And there's a lot of data. So John's gonna be doing a lot of data analysis for this, and because we've just done a lot of data collection for the bike ped plan, we're able to feed the most current data into this as far as multimodal access is concerned. So, all right, and that's it for project updates.
Thank you, Kelly and John. Are there any questions for NMCOG staff on their updates? All right. I put a personal request in the chat. No palm trees in Greater Lowell, please.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Sounds like a great idea.
They're climate resilient.
I moved from Florida 19 years ago, and I'd like to keep the palm trees there personally. Anyway, next item is Northern Middlesex MPO summer meeting schedule. So we're tentatively not planning a meeting for July, is our understanding, but potentially a brief virtual meeting in August on the 26th at 2 p.m. If there's any action items that need to take place, like a tip amendment, MassDOT will communicate to NMCOG staff at least a week in advance of when the July meeting would have otherwise been scheduled, but we're not forecasting anything at this time.
And we just wanted to hold that time in August. I don't know that we'll need to meet, but if we do need to ask the MPO to release a tip amendment for public comment, we would probably need to have a very brief virtual meeting just to have that vote and then reconvene in September so we can get that endorsed before the end of the fiscal year.
Okay. We can go to tip status report. Tim Paris, do you have any updates from District 4?
Hi. Yes, very brief. We've got the Lowell Safe Routes to School at the Stoklosa Middle School. Hope I'm saying that right. I've been repeating it over and over. 6/1/3/7/29. That got a real ad date of April 13th, 2030 assigned. And 6/1/3 613-562 Tewksbury. Improvements at Shawshene Street, Foster Road, Patton Road, and Beach Street. And that got an add date of July 2031. That was actually pushed back a year from April of 2030. And that's all I've got for you.
Thank you, Tim. Any questions for D4? Not seeing or hearing any. Thank you again. Allie, any updates for LRTA?
Yes, just wanted to give an update. The elevators here, the interior elevator at the Gallagher terminal and the exterior elevator going to the MBTA commuter rail platform. Those have been completely rehabbed. That project is complete. The elevators are up and running. And then this is an MBTA project. So they are working on putting in a new stair. It's actually already partially complete. They're doing night work at the station. There's a couple closures, but again, it's an MBTA run project. And that's posted through their alerts on the Lowell line. If you've got any questions about that, if you're planning on taking the train, I think the last train coming in, because I think the work starts at 10 p.m. That's what they're planning, or that's what they've started to do for the duration of that project. And then there's a couple weekend closures. And that should be the project it's moving along. Like I said, they've already got part of the concrete replaced and the stair in. But again, it's not an LRTA project, but I just wanted to give an update because it's kind of adjacent to what we're doing. So, and then other than that, we're just kind of wrapping up our general maintenance items for the year and looking to 27.
Great, thank you, Allie. That's actually an appreciated update about the staircase at, you said that's at Gallagher at Lowell?
Yeah. So it's the stair case going from the pedestrian overpass down to the commuter rail platform.
I'm familiar with it. It was one of the more frightening staircase climbs I've done in the past on the commuter rail system. So happy to hear the T's updating it.
Yeah. Same.
All right. Are there any questions for LRTA from the board? Not seeing any. Thank you again. We'll move on to other business. I don't have any. Any other business from board members at this time? Seeing and hearing none, could we please have a motion and second to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, Karen and Pat. Any objections? Hearing no objections, this meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everyone. And unless we call a meeting in July or August, have an excellent rest of your summer.
Enjoy the summer.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Enjoy
Have a great afternoon.
Goodbye.
Bye.